everybody, welcome back. Merry Christmas to everybody. I gotta tell you that for once, I actually got what I wanted for Christmas. This is a piece of gear that I have been really, really lusting after since it came out in about 2014. And it's something that I've wanted for a long time. Apparently, Fred the cat has also been looking forward to it for a long time. What do you think, Fred? Oh, he's camera shy now. Anyway, I ordered this piece in the summertime. It's Christmas Eve today, and it finally came in. So you get my special assistant Fred the cat. He's going to make his video debut today. So let's get this thing opened up and check it out. So opening this thing up, there's no box within a box. It's just some foam inserts and the almighty H9000. Let's get this thing out the box. All right, so here we go. We get in this box a very substantial package of instructions. Let's see what's in here. We get a very thick instruction manual, which, and it's in color, which I have to say I do appreciate, so that I don't have to look at everything on an iPad or a phone. An IEC cable, warranty and registration, an Eventide sticker. Now, see, here's the thing. At LM, I include stickers with every case because it just, for getting a sticker, I think that's the coolest thing in the world when you buy something. I know it's dumb. We have a Wi-Fi nano USB adapter. Well, that's cool. This is a mono-priced USB cable. Awesome. USB flash drive, 32 gig USB flash drive, little rubber feet, and some rack screws. Cool. Awesome. I don't know why I think that the mono-price USB cable is so funny, but it is really funny to me. Which just goes to show you that cables are cables, y'all. Put this stuff back really quick. And the moment that we've all been waiting for, the Eventide H9000. Now while I take this apart, so the H9000 comes in two different models. There's the 9000, which I have here, and the 9000R. So the R is the same algorithms, and it's the same in basically every single way, except it doesn't have a front screen. So the only way that you use it is with either the app or the emote feature, which when we start to set this up, we'll get into that a little bit more. So, taking a look at this, there's our BNCs on the back, so I'm trying to be careful there. So with the 9000, you get a screen, you get soft keys, so it works just like an 8000 or a 7600. You get to punch in, tactile button moment. This is awesome. This is a super heavy wheel. Sorry, just, I feel like if you're watching the unboxing of this video, you're already a bit on the nerdy side, so might as well give you what you came for. This wheel, super heavy, really awesome. So on the front here, you do have the basic controls of the unit. Once you get into each patch, you can control all the algorithms, which I thought is cool, because a great majority of my work is mostly live. And the stuff that I do mix in post-production are mostly post-production mixes of live shows that I did the live mix for. So one of the reasons why I went with the H9000 versus the 9000R is because you can control this thing without an iPad or an additional app. And if I did want to take it out with me live, I could control it. The other thing about it is, it scared me that you would buy a gear or a piece of equipment that is this expensive, and you wouldn't be able to control it in the future if there's some software update. I mean, Eventide's been around forever. They are absolutely a company that, in my opinion, changed the way that popular music sounds. I would hope that they would be around for a long time, but my logic was, if you're going to make the financial investment in a piece of equipment like this, get something that you can use as a standalone piece. And this is about $2,000 more expensive than the R. Another thing that I should probably bring up with this particular piece is I looked for used ones. They're really not out there. I wanted to buy this used. There were a few in Europe, and I had been looking for this piece for about 4 years used before I decided to finally take the plunge and buy one. There are a bunch of R's out there. They hold their value very well. I mean, again, this is Christmas Eve of 2022. I don't know what the future will bring. I don't know when you'll be watching this video. But the values hold pretty good, and in my opinion, if I ever wanted to sell this would be the more valuable of the two. So if I ever get to a point where I'm not using it, or I want to recoup my investment, or use the money for something else, I can. That was my logic with buying this. So let's take a look at the back. All right, so taking a look at the back of this thing, as I mentioned, you can use this as a standalone piece. So if you wanted to use it into a console and just have it in a stereo functionality, you can use channels 1 and 2, so that's left and right, via XLR. They also have channels 1 through 8 as DB25 on the back of here. So 1 and 2 are duplicitous to 1 and 2 on the DB25s. There's AES, there's SPDIF, there's our USB port, there's optical in, here's our word clock, here's AES EBU over DB25. We've got some MIDI, we've got a network jack, 4 relay, quarter-inch jacks for relay boxes, so if you want to use an expression pedal or something like that with this, you can. A network jack, as I mentioned, and 2 USBs. So what you get with this is you get the little Wi-Fi adapter, so that this can be accessible via Wi-Fi. You just connect it to your Wi-Fi network, which we're going to do here in a second. And then, you can turn everything on. Now, this does have expansion ports in here. You can set this up over MADI. There's another one that's Dante. And I think those are the only 3 things that are available for this at the moment, is MADI and Dante. Unfortunately, my studio is set up over AVB, so I can't really take advantage of those. But the cool thing about this is you can use this as an analog piece of gear. So you have 8 channels, so you have 4 stereo channels of I/O. You can also use this as a standalone interface, which is pretty cool. 8 line level in, 8 line level out. So you can use this as if you have a limited interface situation and you need an additional 8 channels, say for example you're tracking drums or something like that, you can use this as an A to D converter standalone, which is pretty cool. The other thing about this, and again, I know what everybody's thinking, there aren't a lot of videos on this particular thing. I'm hoping to bribe you for some views with my cute little kitty going around in the background, but it's just the 2 of us home today, so I'm cat sitting. The cool thing about this particular piece of gear is you have recallability on it. So if you're taking the plunge from plugins and you want to go from plugins and you're trying to get your reverbs to sound a bit better, your delays to get better, and you're looking at, there's a lot of secondhand reverb units that you can get on the market. You can get all the Lexicon PCM stuff for relatively inexpensive. Stuff that was $5,000-$6,000 when they were new are $1,000. I mean, they still hold their value if you own it, but if you do want to expand your functionality while you're working in the box and you just want to have some outboard reverbs, you can do that, but you have to make a recall sheet, and you have to do your prints in real time, things like that. So the cool thing about this is with Emote, this basically shows up as a plugin in your DAW. So while you're looking at this and saying, man, that's really expensive, do I really want to make that investment? It's, well, yeah, you can, and it saves you time. It doesn't add any of the functionality things, like, that would be prohibitive to you if we're working in an analog environment, because you can recall all of your sessions, which is really, really cool. And it's, you don't have to print that stuff in real time, and it prints like it's a normal plugin. So enough of me yakking about this. Let's get this thing racked up and listen to what it sounds like. I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am. Let's go. All right, so we've got this thing racked up. And this is what happens. So this is our default session here. So I think it should be said that I've never used one of these before, so this is going to be my first time navigating through this. So maybe if you buy one, you've stumbled across this video. So according to the manual, the first thing we need to do is go into Setup here. And we'll just use our jog wheel, or I should say, oh so satisfyingly heavy jog wheel. And let's see. Let's name this thing. Okay, so we'll call this Billy's H9K. So here's what I've learned from this so far. These on the side here so they're all soft keys. So these are soft keys, and then this menu right here are soft keys. So this is this right here. So up and down, we'll change this from numbers to letters to symbols, delete and enter. So even though it says control, I was getting confused with this little back cursor being delete. It's actually enter. Now that I think about looking at an old school Mac keyboard, it's that. So cool, we'll get that in. So we'll hit enter. Confirming this system will be Billy's H9K. Changing system may... Yeah, great. All right. Okay. Info, name, clock. All right, so let's configure our clock here. Proof that I was reading the manual. Let's see. Clock source. How do we get there? All right. Oh, okay, so it's internal. Sample rate of 48K. Okay, cool. So how about if I want to go over here? How do I go over there? It's kind of weird that this isn't a touchscreen. I watched a couple of other videos on this and kind of echo the same thing, which I agree is kind of weird. If you're spending that kind of cash for this thing, it would be nice to just toggle through there, but it's okay. Okay, there we go. So clock source, internal. What are our options here? Internal 48, 88 to 96, AES any, ADAT word clock, expansion port. Oh, okay, cool. So we'll call it internal 48K for now. I'll call this internal 48K for AES, even though I'm not going to use that. All right, cool. Clock. Preferences. Oh, screen brightness. Oh, and this does also have haptic. The screen clicks when you hit a button, which is kind of cool. It's in our very app-based world. So also in this, there's this analog refs config. This allows you to configure the input-output level of any of the analog inputs and outputs. So right now they're configured to +4 line level, obviously, which is kind of cool. So. Again, this is just I'm reading the manual while we go along here. So I have this wired at the moment. There's an Ethernet cable on the back. I also have the Wi-Fi adapter set up in here. So let's scroll through here and see what so these are all of the Wi-Fi networks. So Wu-Tang LAN is my Wi-Fi network here. But it also shows Ethernet, which is cool. So I'm going to leave that alone. I'm not going to set up Wi-Fi, although, let's do it. Why not? We're here. Let's not be crazy. Oh, cool. So we're connected to Wi-Fi also. Great. All right. Well, let's go to our sessions here. Go to... Oh, cool. Okay, so we set up our session there. We're in our effects chains now. We have global tap. That's cool. So here's what we've got. We've got plates, rooms. Okay. Yikes. This is going to be a little tricky to get through this. Okay, plate, room, hall, large reverb. Okay, so we have 4. Plate, room, large. Okay. So, one of the interesting things about this, I will say that, the difference between the H9 and the H9R is, you can go through all of this, but I watched a bunch of videos and did read through the whole manual before we did this, so it is actually more advantageous to do this on the computer screen, which is why the H9R exists. So let's hop into the computer and see what that looks like.